The rain-soaked streets of Portland glistened under the streetlights. But inside me, a storm raged fiercer than the Oregon downpour. My name is Eli Carter, an Omega widowed at 27, carrying the child of my late husband, James. His death 6 months ago in a car accident shattered my world, leaving me to navigate a life I never imagined alone. Pregnant and haunted by the ghost of his love, I stood in the cramped apartment I'd shared with James, clutching his old flannel shirt, its scent of cedar and coffee still lingering. The baby kicked, a sharp reminder of the life growing inside me, and I pressed a hand to my belly, whispering, "We'll be okay." But the words felt hollow. Society wasn't kind to Omegas like me, unmated, widowed, and vulnerable. The whispers at the grocery store, the pitying glances from neighbors, they all stung. I was an Omega without an Alpha, a status that invited judgment in a world obsessed with hierarchy. Then there was Noah, James's older brother, an Alpha whose presence filled any room like a wildfire. He'd shown up at my doorstep a month after the funeral, his broad shoulders hunched, his dark eyes heavy with guilt. "Eli, I'm here," he'd said, voice rough like gravel. "James would have wanted me to look out for you." I didn't know then how those words would unravel my carefully guarded heart. Noah was everything James hadn't been: wild, unpolished, a man who wore his alpha strength like armor, but carried a softness in his gaze that disarmed me. He started coming by daily, fixing the leaky faucet, bringing groceries, sitting with me in silence when the grief was too heavy to speak. His touch, when he'd brush my arm or steady me as I waddled with my growing belly, sent warmth through me I hadn't felt since James. It terrified me. How could I feel this way about my husband's brother, the man who shared James's blood, his laugh, his stubborn jawline? One night, as rain hammered the windows, Noah stayed late. I was sorting through James's old records, each vinyl a memory of our late-night dances. Noah picked up a worn copy of Harvest Moon, his fingers tracing the cover. "He loved this one," he murmured, his voice thick. I nodded, tears welling, and before I could stop myself, I said, "I miss him so much it hurts to breathe." Noah's eyes met mine, raw and unguarded. He stepped closer, his alpha scent pine and leather wrapping around me like a blanket. "I miss him too," he whispered, and then, hesitantly, his hand found mine. The world stilled. My pulse raced, guilt and longing tangling like thorns in my chest. I pulled away, heart pounding. "Noah, we can't." My voice cracked, but he didn't move, his gaze steady, unwavering. "Eli, I'm not trying to replace him. I can't stop wanting to protect you. Both of you." His eyes flickered to my belly, and something inside me broke opina dangerous, reckless hope. The next weeks were a dance of avoidance and inevitability. I'd catch Noah watching me as I cooked, his eyes lingering too long. He'd linger after fixing something in the apartment, his laughter filling the empty spaces James had left. But the world outside our bubble wasn't so forgiving. Omegas were expected to remate quickly, especially one carrying a child. My landlord, a beta with a sharp tongue, hinted I'd need an alpha's name on the lease soon. The pressure was suffocating, and Noah's presence, once a comfort, now felt like a question I wasn't ready to answer. One evening, at a community gathering in the neighborhood park, the tension snapped. I'd gone to escape the apartment's walls, my belly now impossible to hide. Whispers followed Muadowed Omega. "No Alpha. What a shame." Noah was there, standing by the bonfire, his silhouette stark against the flames. A beta woman, bold and nosy, approached me. "Eli, you can't raise that child alone. Have you considered the Alpha registries?" Her tone was syrupy, but her words cut. Before I could respond, Noah was there, his voice low and dangerous. He's not alone. The crowd hushed, eyes darting between us. My cheeks burned, not from the fire, but from the weight of his words. He'd claimed me, publicly, in a way that could ruin us both. That night, back at the apartment, I confronted him. Noah, what was that? You can't just, he cut me off. Stepping so close I could feel the heat radiating from him. Eli, I'm done pretending. I care about you. Not just because of James, but because of you. His voice shook, and I saw it then, the raw, unguarded truth. He loved me. And God help me, I loved him too. But love in our world wasn't simple. Alphas and omegas were bound by rules, expectations, and the shadow of James loomed large. Could I betray my husband's memory? Could I let Noah, an alpha tied to my past, become my future? The baby kicked again, as if urging me to decide. And I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the life I carried, the family we could become if I was brave enough to leap. The days that followed were a blur of stolen glances and unspoken promises. Noah didn't push, but his presence was a constant, steady force. He'd bring me tea, chamomile, because he knew the baby kept me up at night. He'd tell stories of him and James's kids, running wild in the Oregon woods. And I'd laugh until tears came, not sure if they were from joy or sorrow. Each moment with him chipped away at my resistance. But the guilt remained, a heavy stone in my chest. Society's judgment grew louder. At the Omega support group I attended, the facilitator, a kind but firm beta named Clara, pulled me aside. Eli, people are talking. An unmated Omega living with an alpha who's not your Matei's dangerous. For you and the baby. Her words stung, but they weren't wrong. Alphas were territorial, and Noah's protectiveness was starting to draw attention. Rumors spread that he was staking a claim, that I was disrespecting James's memory. I wanted to scream that it wasn't like that Noah was saving me from drowning in grief. But the truth was too complicated for their simple judgments. One afternoon, while Noah was at work, I found an old letter James had written me, tucked in a book. Eli, you're my home. No matter what. Love fiercely. My throat tightened. James had known me, loved me, Omega or not. Would he hate me for feeling this way about Noah? Or would he want me to live, to love again? I clutched the letter, tears falling. When Noah walked in, he didn't say anything, just knelt beside me, his hand resting on my shoulder. Eli, he said softly, whatever you're feeling, it's okay. I'm here. His voice was a lifeline, but I was terrified of grabbing it. The turning point came at 30 weeks pregnant, when a scare sent me to the hospital. Mild contractions, the doctor said, but I needed rest. Noah drove me, his hands white-knuckled on the wheel, his alpha instincts in overdrive. In the hospital room, as I lay hooked to monitors, he sat beside me, his hand gripping mine. I was so scared, he admitted, his voice raw. I can't lose you. Eli. Not you too. The words broke something in me, and I squeezed his hand back. I'm scared too, I whispered. But I'm glad you're here. When we returned home, something had shifted. I let Noah stay the night. Not on the couch, but in the armchair by my bed. His presence a quiet promise. We didn't speak of it, but the air between us crackled with possibility. I started to imagine a future not replacing James, but building something new. Noah wasn't just James's brother. He was a man who saw me, who chose me, who loved the life I carried as fiercely as I did. But the world outside wasn't done with us. A week later, James's mother, Margaret, showed up unannounced. Her eyes, so like James's, were cold as she looked at Noah, then me. This is wrong, she said. her voice sharp. You're disrespecting my son's memory. Both of you. Noah stood tall, his jaw tight. Margaret, I love James. But Eli's not a memory. He's here, living. And I'm not letting him face this alone. Her face softened, but only slightly. You're playing with fire. Noah. Alphas don't just step into their brother's place. She left, her words hanging like a storm cloud. I turned to Noah, my heart pounding. Is she right? Are we wrong? He cupped my face, his touch gentle but firm. Eli, love isn't wrong. It's messy. It's complicated. But it's not wrong. For the first time, I let myself believe him. I leaned into his touch, my lips brushing his palm, and the world felt right. If only for a moment. The final weeks of my pregnancy were a whirlwind of hope and fear. Noah moved in, officially, his belongings mixing with mine in a quiet, domestic dance. We didn't call it love out loud. Not yet. But it was there in the way he'd rub my back when I couldn't sleep. In the way I'd catch him smiling at my belly, whispering to the baby when he thought I was asleep. You're gonna be strong, little one, he'd say. Like your dad. Like your mom. I'd pretend to sleep, my heart swelling. But the outside world kept pushing. At a prenatal checkup, the nurse, a beta with a tight smile, asked pointedly if Noah was the father. I froze. But Noah answered smoothly. I'm family. The word carried weight. But it wasn't enough for everyone. Old friends of James stopped calling. The Omega support group grew quieter when I mentioned Noah. I felt like I was betraying James, even as I fell deeper for Noah. The guilt was a shadow, always there. But Noah's presence was brighter. One night, as we sat on the couch, a rare moment of peace, Noah took my hand. Eli, I need to say something. His voice was steady, but his eyes were nervous. I love you. Not as James's brother. Not as some alpha duty. I love you, Eli Carter. And I want to be your family. Yours and the baby's. My breath caught. I wanted to say it back, but the word stuck, tangled in fear. Instead, I kissed him soft, tentative, but real. It was our first kiss, and it felt like a promise, a step into the unknown. The baby came early, at 38 weeks, in a rush of pain and joy. Noah was there, holding my hand through every contraction, his voice steady when mine wasn't. When our daughter, Lily, was placed in my arms, her tiny face scrunched and perfect, I looked at Noah. Tears streaked his face, and I knew he wasn't just James's brother anymore. He was hers. He was mine. But the world wasn't done testing us. A week after Lily's birth, a letter arrived from the Omega registry, a formal notice demanding I declare an alpha or face legal scrutiny. Omegas without alphas were vulnerable. The letter reminded me, especially with a child. Panic gripped me, but Noah read the letter, his jaw tight. They can't take you from me, he said, fierce. We'll fight this. Together. We met with a lawyer, a kind Omega named Sarah who understood our fight. She warned us the system favored tradition, but she'd help. Noah and I decided to register as a bonded pair, not because society demanded it, but because we chose it. The ceremony was quiet. Just us, Lily, and a few close friends in a small Portland chapel. I wore James's flannel, tucked under a jacket, a piece of him with us. Noah's vows were simple. I'll love you, Eli, and Lily, through every storm. Mine were shakier, but true. You're my home now. Noah, you and Lily. Lily's first smile came at 6 weeks, a gummy grin that lit up our tiny apartment. Noah was smitten, cradling her like she was the world. We were a family, messy and unconventional, but ours. The guilt still lingered, a quiet ache for James. But I'd started to believe he'd want FISM. Happy. Loved. With a man who'd give everything for us. The Omega registry backed off after our bonding. But society's whispers didn't. We moved to a quieter part of Portland. A small house with a garden where Lily could play. Noah built a crib, his hands steady as he carved her name into the wood. I watched him, my heart full, and realized love wasn't a betrayal. It was a gift. One James had given me the courage to accept. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Lily asleep upstairs, Noah pulled me close. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft. I nodded, leaning into him. "More than okay. I'm home." The stars above us glittered, and for the first time in months, I felt whole. Love hadn't erased the pain, but it had built something Newa family born from loss. Fierce and unbreakable. We weren't perfect. The world still judged, and the shadow of James would always be there. But Noah's hand in mine, Lily's laughter, they were proof that love could grow through cracks, that an Omega and an Alpha could rewrite their story. And as I looked at Noah, his eyes reflecting the starlight, I knew we'd keep writing it. Together.